Hey, I'm live. Neat. What's up, everyone? My name is James Cool. I'm the owner of PaterDFS.com. Today, we're going to be doing yet another stream going over portfolio manager stuff. I know what you may be thinking. James, you've been doing a lot of stuff and a lot of tutorials and a lot of walkthroughs going over portfolio manager. Aren't you tired of it? Kind of. I'm kind of tired of it. I am, for people who know me, I'm not... one, I'm not a content guy, and two, I'm not a long form content guy. So these last couple days have been whooping my ass. And therefore, I'm drinking a green drink that has green supplements and fucking creatine in it so that I can try to get through these streams. But yeah, another one going over the portfolio manager. The main reason why is because there's just a lot of stuff that goes into the portfolio manager and using it. It's like a brand new, not only is it like a pretty new tool, it's not like brand new. I've been working on it and iterating over it for the last maybe 6 months or so. I want to say 6-7 months. Introduced it a while ago, but been iterating over it for the last 6 or 7 months, including and optimizing and putting in new features and stuff like that. And it's grown into a really, really in-depth and complex tool. And so not only is it like a relatively new tool, but it's also kind of a new thing in regards to the stuff that I, as a programmer and as a player, build and use and operate with, right? Pater has mostly been a single entry and 3 max specialty site since it was created, right? Like I have not created too many things for MME, and this is kind of my first full foray into an MME tool, and it's awesome. And I'm really proud of it, and we've had a lot of success with it. So just trying to continue to flesh things out and continue to work through things and talk about it and raise awareness for it. So if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the chat, or you can tag me on Discord if you prefer to do that. I don't really care. I'll get to Discord as well. But today we're going to be talking through Showdown functions. The last video that I did was more talking through the overall functions for the portfolio manager for regular sites. And then in true James fashion, since that video, in the next 36 hours, I added a whole bunch of shit onto the portfolio manager. So now there's some new things to talk about, some new functions, some new buttons, a little bit of different UI, stuff like that. So we're going to be going over that stuff. Mainly, we're going to be looking at the Showdown for week 1. We're going to be looking at Dallas, Philadelphia, and we're going to be talking a little bit about how to go about setting up portfolios for Showdown. Now, disclaimer, how I am going to go through things is not my personal process for multiple reasons. One, I can't give away my personal process on a tool that does not involve randomness. And two, I don't know what the fuck my process is yet. We're going to be going through a lot of different things here. We're going to be looking at different functions, function stacking, scenario stacking, stuff like that. And as I go through it, I'm also going to be thinking to myself, how am I going to be utilizing this tomorrow? I will always, of course, give, like high level thoughts on how you should be using things and how I think things should be used. But again, I'm not going to be building like an actual straight up portfolio for tomorrow that I myself am going to enter. But I do want to go through each one of the different functions and how they come together and, how they all sing together. So obviously I have my screen and let's get into it. So still sitting in the experimental, run over to Portfolio Manager. Now I have already downloaded all the files to upload to this, but for the hell of it, let's go ahead and download new ones, right? So we're going to go to the NFL range of outcomes, and I will need DraftKings, obviously. Oops, that's great. That's great. Just pretend that nobody saw that. Pretend that nobody saw me having to log into DraftKings. I'm not sure why I had to log into DraftKings. Oh, let's see. Okay, so Showdown cap node. So first, let's go ahead and export this CSV, right? So we're going to just save that. It is 576. So there's our pricing. We're going to come over here. We're going to hit advanced, and we're going to look up Showdown. Go ahead and export that. Okay, that is export number 12. Then we'll come over here into optimals. I'm going to hit reset. I'm going to load reset data. Drop down, go to Showdown. Now, I personally am going to run a mix of 50-50 here. I'll go 75-25. If you would like to hear me talk about what this is and what I am doing, there is a video on the YouTube channel going over the full NFL suite of products. Basically, what I'm doing right now is I'm saying that I want 75% of the optimals that I download to be based on projections and 25% of the optimals that I download to be based on ownership. I'm going to set a minimum salary here of 48, min stacks used 1 through 5. Sure, fine with that. And then go ahead and set up my export. I'm going to export names just because that's what I always do. It'll give me 2,400 lineups. Okay, fine with that. Save as into downloads. This. Sure, cool. Oh, wait. Just kidding. Wait. Yeah. Yes. Fine. Okay, cool. So now that I have all three of those things, let's go ahead and upload. So first things first, select sport, NFL. We're going to go Showdown. Then I'm going to go other just names. We are going to grab the things that I need here. So it was what? This guy is the pricing. This guy is the optimals. And this guy is the range of outcomes. So we'll wait until this little guy stops running. And then it'll be all loaded up. And then we'll load up. Cool. Cool beans. All right. So some things here. There is no like functional difference in the way that it looks when you are loading with Showdown outside of obviously we have different positions here. But some things that you're going to see as we look at this. So first off, if you watch the breakdown video, you'll notice, or the first video that I did on the Portfolio Manager, you'll notice that recalculate diversity. I think this is a new button. This is right here next to reset portfolio. If you go through subsets and then want to recalculate the diversity instead of exporting and then re-uploading them, you can do that. Also, you'll notice that now there is a select dropdown for selecting rows to add them to your custom export and then removing rows. And I'll show you how to use these here in a second. But other than that, you know, in terms of what you are seeing in the actual load up here, nothing is super different. One quick caveat and a weird thing that's happening. I don't know why this says 1608 because there's not 1608 lineups in here. And I know there's not because when I go download portfolio, and I go down to the bottom of this, there is 2,486 lineups. So I'm not actually sure why it says 1608. It's a bug that I'm looking into that I just didn't have time to fix before I hit this stream. But this will show you how many lineups you have once I actually end up fixing that. But overall, you're still going to see the same things. You're going to see your lineups. You're going to see what the stack is. You're going to see the size, salary, median, ownership, and then the important things like dupes, things like finishing percentage, win rate, edge, weighted ownership, geo-mean, and diversity. So let's take a look at a couple different things here really quick, just because I think that it's worth showing. So right now, when I look at this, in the first 100 lineups, the lineup that I have that has the highest projected dupes is this one. It has 39 projected dupes. Jake Elliott, Dallas Goedert, Javonte Williams, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and A.J. Brown. So the thing about that lineup is it's going to be really fucking chalky, right? And if we go up here and say, I mean, I don't even know how big of a contest this is. Right? I mean, it's huge, right? The NFL contests are just fucking-gantic. Showdown, yeah. So this one has 176,000 entries, right? Now, I think I need to tone down the dupe counts on this a little bit. This is using a formula that I tweaked relatively recently. Because if we go up here and we set 176,000 lineups. Well, actually, no, 121 seems about right. Yeah, okay, so that's actually not crazy. This one projects for 99 dupes. Dak Prescott, Jake Ferguson, Brown, Elliott, Hurts, Goedert. Yeah, I'd say that one probably projects for about 100 dupes. So this dupe algorithm is actually still very, very strong. So that's good. Okay, cool. So you'll see those things. And then say that really quick, I'm going to show you these right here, these little drop down things, these select lineups, just off the cuff really quick. I'm just going to quickly stratify for weighted ownership and do 50 and apply it. So if you, before, the way that you were to just add some lineups over in your custom export instead of all of them, you would select up to 10 of the top row, but that was kind of inefficient and it didn't work very well. So instead, I made it so these are drop downs and so they're multi-select. So you can add rows to send your custom export, or you can choose rows to remove from this display column, right? Or from this display frame. And they are based on the first column, which is the index for people who are into coding and stuff. But this first column, this is going to tell you which one. So say that I wanted the first lineup, this lineup here with Jalen Tolbert, so that's 5. This lineup here with Jake Elliott, or no, we'll go with Luke Schumacher or whatever, 9. Say that I just wanted to add those, right? We could add those to the custom export. Then I'm going to reset. And then if I go over here and go to export base, now we see that we have those 3 lineups, right? So, and then if you wanted to remove any of these, say that you're like, I mean, Luke Schumacher is kind of a punk bitch. I'm just going to remove that lineup. You can do that, right? So these are very easy to use now. This was an ask from a couple people, so figured that I would just add that. It makes it nice and easy. Let's go ahead and clear the custom export now because we don't actually need those ones that were in there. Oh man, there's so much green powder on the bottom of this. I haven't been drinking any of the green powder itself. I've been drinking water that has a hint of green powder in it. And cayenne, by the way. If you want to spice up your mix a little bit, then add some cayenne. Okay, hold on. Got a question in Discord, maybe. This a message for ants? I don't know, man. Probably. Oh, no. Fuck you. Fuck you, J-Bones. Somebody is asking a question here. Let's see. Okay. So let's get into the filters. So one of the things that I changed from last video, I added a whole bunch of min and max for the macro filters. So now you can make some selections and filter down your portfolio based on salary, projection, ownership, dupes, finish percentile, and lineup edge. And you can do a min and a max for each one. So say that we only wanted a portfolio. Let's see, our top overall median here is 96.22. Say that we only wanted lineups that were within 5 points of that. So 91.22, right? We can do that. So we'll set that, do portfolio. We have 47 lineups that are within that range, right? And that's all of these lineups here. Pretty self-explanatory, but I thought that it was worth showing here because it is a deviation from what was shown in the last video. I don't think that I did anything else. There's not anything specific to Showdown for macro filters. For micro filters, however, we did add a focus to overall captain or flex. So the way that this works is say that you wanted lineups that had Jalen Hurts at captain, right? So we go captain, we say Jalen Hurts, and then we just apply it to the portfolio. So now this is all of Jalen Hurts captain lineups and only Jalen Hurts captain lineups, right? So you're not going to get anything else here except for Jalen Hurts lineups. You could also say in the flex, we wanted to remove, let's go ahead and reset the portfolio. Let's say that in the flex, we wanted to remove Jalen Hurts lineups, right? So any lineups where Jalen Hurts is in the flex, it'll allow him to be in the captain, but not in the flex. Apply that portfolio. Okay, there you go. So we have a whole bunch of Jalen Hurts captain lineups, but we removed any lineups with Jalen Hurts in the flex, right? We could do, obviously, overall as well. Say that we wanted to remove all Jalen Hurts lineups. We just think that Jalen Hurts is a fucking punk bitch, right? Reset portfolio, run that. 673 lineups that don't have Jalen Hurts whatsoever, right? Obvious applications here, super important, but being able to control locking players or removing players, overall captain or flex, obviously very important. You can also do that for things like the conditionals manager. which we'll get to in a second. But it's important to be able to control that kind of stuff, right? So say tomorrow we were looking and saying that we thought, actually, let me get through the rest of these functions and we'll start talking about tomorrow a little bit. Trimming functions, I did not change anything here. I have been considering adding something where it says that we are only trimming where the captain does or does not have X or Y, right? But we can already do that through stacking different functions. So I didn't add it yesterday when I was building this stuff out, or over the last 2 days. I didn't think that it was necessary. Presets, still probably going to get rid of those. Stratify, don't have anything new. Conditionals manager, I do have things new for the conditionals manager. So let's really quick say that we only want to, the thing that I added here is the in slot for both, right? So in slot overall captain flex or in slot overall captain flex. So the way that you're supposed to read this through is you are going to keep lineups containing X player in the slot overall captain or flex, where they also contain any, all, or none of the following players in overall captain or flex. Right? So you're reading through each one. You're reading top to bottom. So we can do things like keep Jalen Hurts lineups. Actually, you know what? Let's do some stacking here. So let's start here and let's lock Jalen Hurts lineups, right? All right, cool. So there's all our Jalen Hurts captain lineups. And let's go here. So let's keep lineups containing Jalen Hurts in the captain. Actually, we can do overall, right? Because he's only going to be in the captain anyway. Where they contain none of Saquon Barkley in the flex. So in this instance, saying that you want to avoid the combination of Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley when Jalen Hurts is in the captain. And just, for the sake of doing things correctly, right? Keep Jalen Hurts in the captain slot where they also contain none of Saquon Barkley in the flex. And apply that. There you go. We have 160 lineups where we have Jalen Hurts captain, but no Saquon Barkley in the flex, right? Again, very obvious applications here in terms of scenario stacking and thinking through the way that lineups need to be built out for Showdown. We can also remove things, right? So let's go ahead and reset the portfolio. Let's go to micro. We're just going to go back to our Jalen Hurts captain lineups. Now, let's go ahead and remove lineups containing Jalen Hurts in the captain where they contain any. Oh, actually, that's not going to work, right? Let's remove Saquon Barkley lineups overall where they also contain all of Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown overall. So in this instance, we're going to remove lineups containing Saquon Barkley overall, where they also contain all of Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown anywhere in the lineup, right? So this is saying that we don't want Saquon Barkley lineups if we have a stack of Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. And specifically in these lineups, right, we know that we have Jalen Hurts in the captain already. So we don't have to designate anything there. So we can run that, and there you go. So now we have 231 lineups where it avoids the combo of Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Saquon Barkley, right? Pretty good, pretty important. So let's go ahead and reset. That shows off conditional stuff. The final thing is going to be the exposure management. So now you have the ability to select specific positions to replace players. And this is not necessarily specific to Showdown, right? Like you can do this for, NBA is going to be a sport where I think this is pretty important. But this is also important in Showdown, right? So let's go ahead and let's just trim this, right? We're going to trim on weighted ownership. All right, cool. 15 lineups. So when we go down here and we analyze our players, let's see what we got here. We have 86% George Pickens in the flex. Jalen Hurts is by far our most exposed captain at 66%. So we have George Pickens up here in the flex. We have CeeDee Lamb up here in the flex, right? But we don't have all that much Dak Prescott in the captain, right? We might not have any Dak Prescott in the captain. We don't. Okay, so let's try to get some Dak Prescott in the captain. So as we're looking at this, we can say, all right, if I know that I have a lot of George Pickens in the flex, and I have quite a bit of CeeDee Lamb in the flex, let's make sure that we have at least like 10% of our lineups with Dak Prescott captain. So we're going to go here, and then we're going to say in the specific position of captain. And then we're going to apply. And what that's going to do is it's going to try to find applicable replacement slots where we could get Dak Prescott into the captain. Now, it did not get us any, and I want to be specific as to why. When it tries to find ways to add players in, and let's just make sure that I did this right. Yeah, I did. Okay. So when it tries to find specific players to take out of a lineup and replace with another player, it is doing so within a certain range of salary and within a certain range of projections. So the lineups that we have here, Jalen Hurts captain, Saquon Barkley, CeeDee Lamb, like that's all that we have, right? Those guys project for more than Dak Prescott and also are more expensive than Dak Prescott, right? I'm pretty sure. What is Dak Prescott? What is he? Okay, yeah, he's only 13.5K, right? So CeeDee Lamb is $1,700 more dollars in the captain, right? Jalen Hurts is $2,000 or $3,000 more dollars, $2,700 more for CeeDee Lamb, and then $3,300 here, right? So it doesn't want to try to replace any of those guys with Dak Prescott. So what we can do is say, okay, we are fine with replacing Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, or CeeDee Lamb with Dak Prescott. Let's see if that works. There we go. See, now we have some Dak Prescotts in there. So now we can analyze. And let's see how much we got. 16% Dak Prescott. So we'll take that, right? Because we only have so many lineups, if it only added one of him, it was going to be under the 10%. So it wanted to add two more of him, and it got him up to 16%. So we got some Dak Prescott representation here now. Granted, the lineups where we got him are way low in salary, right? Because we had to replace a Saquon or a Jalen Hurts or a CeeDee Lamb or something like that. Say that we also wanted to say, all right, well, that's all fine and dandy. Jalen Hurts at 55% of the captain is still too much, right? So let's try to drop him down a bit. Say that we want him at 30% in the captain. That'll probably be over the field tomorrow, but not, drastically much. Let's remove the replacements, say only in the captain, and let's try to bring him down a bit. Looks like that probably worked. No, it did not. Okay, so who can we say that we want to drop him down for? We're fine with dropping him down towards Saquon Barkley and CeeDee Lamb. Let's start with that, right? And CeeDee Lamb. All right, let's try that. Yep, there you go. So now Jalen Hurts at captain is 30%. Saquon Barkley at captain is 33%. And we ended up getting a little bit more of Saquon. We ended up getting a little bit more of CeeDee Lamb. And now we have some decent representation across the board. Dak Prescott is at 12% now. That feels pretty good. So that's how you use the exposure management. And you can do that for either captain or any of the positions that you want to look at, right? There are some people I know that build out their captain, or the way they build out their like PGA or their Showdown or anything like that based on individual columns. I don't find value to that. Some people do it. So if they wanted to say, I only want to replace him in flex 5, they can do that. If you wanted to have all of the flex positions, right, you can just choose all of the different flex positions. Obviously for NBA, right, you can choose the specific positions that you want to replace players in or that you want to remove players from. Say that you wanted to keep all of your Jokic in the center position, but you wanted to remove him from the utility position, right? Say that you wanted to keep all of your Giannis in the PF, but wanted to remove him from the center, right? Like you can do things like that. So good fine-grained control over exposure management and over conditionals and everything like that. So those are all of the functions that we can use for the portfolio manager for Showdown. I think that it gives us all of the fine-grained control that we need over this kind of stuff for scenario stacking and for subsetting and for putting together a portfolio. So let's go through a couple different little scenarios here and talk through how to put them together into an export. So I have reset my portfolio. I have cleared my custom export. I do not have anything that is live right now, right? Let's go ahead and jump in. So the first things first, I'm fine. I think I'm fine with having this set to the 176,000. Which lineup and which one am I already in? I know that I'm in the $5 tomorrow. I'm going to be in the 15 as well. But what is the 5 tomorrow? Is the 5 already full? There's no way it's already full. It's not, right? Where the fuck is the 5? There's double ups. There's the flea flicker. Okay, that's only 30K. Okay, so let's build for that one. And let's just say average. I mean, I probably could put that for below average, but I'm not going to right now. So the first thing that I always think is important, we have to care about dupes. If people tell you not to care about dupes, they don't care about your well-being. Just straight up, you have to care about dupes. Sorry to any RPS listeners in the chat. It's just really important. Like the ROI that you will experience as a player over the course of a season and over the course of your lifetime is highly dependent on like a handful of instances, right? Even for really, really good players, even for really high volume players, their ROI is entirely dependent on like 10 slates a year or something. Like you can be a really good player, really consistent with pretty decent ROI. But if you fuck up like 6 slates, if you run bad on like 6 out of those 10 slates, it takes you all the way down to break even. If you run super hot on them, you had a terrific year. If you run super bad on them, you're down like 9% or something, right? So extrapolate that down to an individual player, right? That is just like a person. You might have 5 slates that matter the entire year. You might have 5 slates that matter. And if one of those is a bink and you win a GPP and you won the GPP for like, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to give my face here. So you have to care about dupes because you, as a player that does not have considerable volume, if you should expect to win as a player on relatively low volume, like 3 GPPs a year, if you're really good. As like a low volume player, somebody who's playing like single entry or 3 max or something like that, you should win like 3 to 5 GPPs a year. So think about that for a second and say to yourself, do I want one of those 3 to 5 GPPs that I win to be worth 1/20th of what the actual prize is? Like if you are playing to a point of having, I don't know, what's a low volume player these days? $30,000 in entry fees, I guess, maybe 30,000, something like that. And you are losing, right? And then you finally have an opportunity to win 50,000 on a showdown slate in NFL. But that 50,000 is chopped 100 times. So now you only win 2,000. Guess what? You're a losing player, right? I mean, you lost money this year. There's zero fucking chance that you're a positive ROI player. So if you actually want to make money, you have to care about dupes. If you're just playing for fun, then fuck it. Who cares? You can be duped 100 times. Who cares? But like, if you're actually playing to make money and you care about what your ROI is, you have to care about dupes. Sorry to break to the people who don't care. Anyway, so the first thing that I do every single time is I want to filter out dupes. So I'm going to go to the macro filters, and I'm going to say max acceptable dupes, 25. Now, I was asked a question yesterday about the max dupes that I would allow in any given contest for Showdown, right? And I said 20. I might say 25 this year. Just because I'm being a little bit more conservative this year because I am playing MME this year. But 20 to 25, I think is totally acceptable. And then I'm just going to go ahead and run that in my portfolio. So for the most part, based on pater models, dupe counts are going to be relatively low here, right? I still have plenty of lineups. I still have 1602 lineups here. Now, granted, do I really have 1602 lineups? I don't fucking know because that stupid ass bug. But it removed a subset of lineups that were under 25 or over 25 dupes, right? So some other things that I care about here a little bit. If I was going to be doing scenario stacking, one of the things that I would be doing here is trying to get a feel for how much of either team I want in stacks. Right. So one of the ways that I like to do that is I like to go to the betting models. And I like to kind of get an idea for how often each team wins. So in the betting models right now, I have Philadelphia with a 60% chance to win on the money line. Nah, that doesn't look right. Wait, is this? That's MLB. That's fucking hilarious. I'm still a little bit in MLB mode. A little bit. It's my first actual NFL stream, so fuck you. Okay, so for Vegas, I have Dallas as an 80% chance to win. That looks right? Significant chance to win. Vegas has them at 80%. I have them at 76%, right? So I kind of want about 70-ish% of my lineup, 65 to 70-ish% of my lineups to be Philadelphia stacks. Just because when a team wins, they're going to score more points. It's not, I mean, there are going to be times when a team that loses outscores a team that wins, but it's not going to be all that often. So one of the things that I would do with that, if I just wanted to be straight cut about it, if I didn't want to use any of the other functions, what I would do is I would say, okay, so let's go ahead and reset this portfolio. And let's say max acceptable dupes 25, include specific stacks. Let's take Philly stacks first. And then let's cut that. So there you go. I have 939 Philadelphia stacks. So then the next thing that I would end up doing here is saying, okay, so I just want, if I'm building out 100 lineups, and this means that I want 75-ish, 65 to 75 of my lineups to be Philadelphia stacks. So first off, I'm going to go up here and cut this down a little bit. And then I'm going to say microfilter. Is there any microfiltering that I want to do here? Let's just go straight here first. Okay, so I'm going to go diversity because I just want a diverse set of Philadelphia lineups right now. And let's aim for 75. I assume it'll give me a few less than that. 64, I'll take it. Okay, cool. Add all to custom export, reset portfolio. Let's go ahead and do the same thing now for Dallas stacks. Right, we're going to do max acceptable 25 dupes. We're going to go Dallas stacks. We're going to apply. That takes me down to 663. Bring that down. And then now I'm going to go like 35 because I know that I need to try to get up to 100, right? Okay, 33. Cool. So I'm going to add all those custom export. And then I'm going to reset the portfolio. So that was a very basic scenario stack, right? I have a scenario where Philadelphia wins. I have a scenario where Dallas wins. I took those stacks, I broke them up, I dedicated how much I think each one of those things matters, and I set them up in my portfolio. So now over here, you can see that I have a whole bunch of lineups here that have specific things happening. And in that as well, if I widen these out, I also see that I have a lot of diversity through both of them, right? So I have the most common lineup here, this one with a really low diversity. This is my most similar Philadelphia lineup. And then I have the lineups that have the most diversity up here, right? These are lineups that are kind of the weirdest in terms of Philadelphia lineups. And then I have the same thing down here for Dallas, right? Here's the weirdest Dallas stacks: a Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Miles Sanders, Devontae Smith, George Pickens, Jalen Tolbert lineup. And then here is the one that is the most similar to all the other lineups that I have, right? So that is very basic scenario stacking. Another thing that I would want to do here is I would want to analyze the players that I have here. So I have Jalen Hurts, 52%, CeeDee Lamb, 48%, Saquon Barkley, 48%. Those are totally fine in terms of the exposures that I have overall, right? George Pickens, Dak Prescott are my two highest owned or highest exposed overall Dallas players. And I'm going to guess that I have them in quite a few of the lineups that I have with my combos. So let's go ahead and take a look at my combos too, right? Let's analyze combos here. So important to note, the combo that I have the most of is Jalen Hurts plus Saquon Barkley. So maybe I want to avoid that, right? And actually, when I go over and I look at the average lineup edge, that's probably not the one that I need to avoid the most. The one that I probably need to avoid the most is Dallas Goedert plus Jalen Hurts, and then Dallas Goedert plus Saquon Barkley. Maybe I should just be not having Dallas Goedert because he looks like he's probably a pretty bad play. And we can see how bad of a play he is, right? Where's Dallas Goedert? Yeah, his average lineup edge is negative 21. What do I have that's worse? Kevontae Turpin as captain. Jake Elliott at captain. Yeah, both those lineups are pretty shitty. Luke Schoonmaker at captain, right? Those are just bad lineups. So I would probably want to avoid a lot of these guys at captain, right? I'd probably be fine with that. But overall, something that I notice when I build this out is Jalen Hurts plus Saquon Barkley. I'm not a huge fan of that combo in this testing, right? Like, it's not something that I am positive that I am going to avoid tomorrow, but it is something that as I am testing things out here, I don't know if I want to keep it. So let's go ahead and go back up. Go back to our portfolio, reset it. And now we're going to add some micro filtering, right? We are going to say that we want max acceptable dupes 25. We're going to go Philadelphia stacks. We're going to hit that first, right? Now we have 939. But now let's go do some conditionals. We're going to remove lineups containing Jalen Hurts overall, where they also contain any of Saquon Barkley overall, right? So now we're going to be avoiding lineups where one is in a lineup with the other. So let's go ahead and apply that. Now we have 605. Then we're going to go back up here. We're going to stratify. We're going to aim for 75. See what it gives us. 63. Cool. Good on that. Let's add those to the custom export. Reset the portfolio. Do it again for Dallas side. Max up the dupes 25. Dallas side. Hit the portfolio. 663 lineups left. Come down here. We're going to remove lineups containing Jalen Hurts overall. Well, they also contain any of Saquon Barkley. Portfolio. And then again, we're going to stratify. We're going to aim for 35. Yeah, let's aim for 40. Gives us 38. Beautiful. Add all custom export. So now when we go over to the export base. Oh man, did I not clear the custom export last time? God damn it. Why didn't anybody tell me to clear the custom export last time? You guys are failing me. Okay, let's go back through and do that again. So macro. Philly stacks. Yep. 939. Down here. Conditionals. This up. Remove. Hurts lineups. Oops. Overall, any Barkley. Portfolio. And then stratify. Diversity 475. Portfolio. Add all to custom export. reset, and then go to it again for Dallas sides. Portfolio 663. Conditionals manager, remove Hertz lineups where they contain Barkley. Good. Stratify, diversity, 40. Perfect. Out all this much. Okay. Let's go see what we got now. So we have 101 lineups. Perfect. And then now, when we go over here and we analyze our combos again, we see that we no longer have any Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts lineups. Sick. Awesome, right? The fine-tuned controls that we have here are going to be really, really strong for this kind of stuff. Because if we saw, like, you know, it's not a given tomorrow that I want to avoid those entirely. Maybe I'm fine with having those together if they're both in the flex. And I only want to remove Jalen Hurts captain lineups where I have Saquon Barkley in the flex. Or I only want to remove Saquon Barkley captain lineups where I have Jalen Hurts in the flex, right? I could do that too. It's one extra step where I'm just removing those lineups concurrently. And then that way I can make sure that I am putting together lineups that have appropriate ceilings and I don't have Jalen Hurts stealing the upside of Saquon Barkley in terms of the rushing touchdown stuff or vice versa, right? But this made it so that now our top overall exposure is CeeDee Lamb plus Jalen Hurts, which we're happy with. A.J. Brown plus CeeDee Lamb plus Dak Prescott, stuff like that. So then we're going to go back over and we're going to analyze. And sometimes analyze takes a second. So now our highest overall exposure is CeeDee Lamb, 65%. Remember, we had a relatively even split of Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and CeeDee Lamb last time. But now Jalen Hurts is down here at 33%, Saquon Barkley is down to 25%, and CeeDee Lamb is our highest overall at 64%, which we are fine with, right? So overall, some really nice fine-tuned control that we have in terms of that kind of stuff. Let us also take a look at some other fine-grained controls here. So let's go ahead and jump out of here, let's clear the custom export, reset. So say that we just wanted to say max overall dupes, and we don't mind which specific stacks we include. Oops. Reset portfolio. All stacks. Portfolio. There you go. So now we know that we have max overall stacks at 1602. Let's say that we only wanted, let's focus on some Jalen Hurts captain lineups. All right, let's lock Jalen Hurts in the captain and just run those. All right, so there we go. We have our 255. Now, we know that Jalen Hurts in the captain is going to be popular, right? So let's go ahead and go down here and just analyze our players and take a look right now at the average lineup edges that we have here. Are there any players that we need to remove? It looks like no. We're probably fine with that. Let's go ahead and look at our combos here for Jalen Hurts lineups. So again, let's go ahead and remove the lineups that have Saquon Barkley. So let's remove lineups containing Jalen Hurts. And actually, we don't even need to do that, right? We can go up here in the micro filter options and we can say flex Barkley. And we just hit that again. So we have 95 lineups. So now, as we're looking at this, I think that the combination of Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley is going to be relatively highly owned tomorrow. So now that I have removed Saquon Barkley, who we think is probably going to be somewhere in the 70% owned range, I am fine with then just saying, just give me a shit ton of lineup, or I mean a shit ton of ownership on top of my Jalen Hurts. So now over here in the stratify, instead of stratifying on diversity this time, I'm going to take weighted ownership. And I'm going to say, okay, give me a stratification of lineups in the top 25% of lineups, right? And in terms of Jalen Hurts, right, let's go see what his projected ownership in the captain is going to be, because that's kind of like how I like to dictate where or how much of my portfolio should go towards Jalen Hurts. Let's go ahead and go advanced because we need to see the different ownership filters. All right, so Jalen Hurts, in terms of, do I have captain ownership here? Yeah, I do. Okay, so I think that he's going to be in about 20% captain lineup. So let's just go ahead and match that on the field, right? Let's go ahead and go 20%. Hit the portfolio. Okay, so that gave me 15. I think I'm fine with that for now. Let's go ahead and just add those. And then reset the portfolio. Now I'm going to do the same thing with Saquon Barkley, right? Because Saquon Barkley is, I'm projecting to be about 20% owned in the captain. So let's take another 20% of our lineups and dedicate them to Saquon Barkley. We're again just going to say max skeptical dupes 25. Do that. Then micro filter, we want captain Barkley lineups. Go ahead and do that. Where in the flex, we're going to remove Jalen Hurts. Cool, 160, good. And then we're going to stratify again for ownership. And that gives me 19, happy with that. Okay, add all to custom export. So let's see, for CeeDee Lamb, let's go ahead and get some CeeDee Lamb lineups. Now, the thing with wide receivers, if the wide receiver is in the captain, I think that in general, it's a good idea to have the quarterback in the flex. So we're going to add one more step to this one. First, we're going to reset the portfolio. Let's go take a look at our export base, make sure we have these. We do. It does look like there is some slight, no, there shouldn't be any slight overlap, so it's fine. Okay, cool. So going to go ahead and go back to the macro filter. We're going to make sure that we remove anything over 25 dupes. Then we're going to come here and we're going to say in the captain, we want our CeeDee Lamb lineups. So lock those. Now in the flex, I want to lock Dak Prescott. So I have 71 lineups where I have Dak Prescott in the flex and CeeDee Lamb in the captain. And then again, so for this one, there's no guarantee now that I am not going to have either Saquon Barkley or Jalen Hurts, right? So these lineups could end up being really highly owned. So I don't want to do the same thing where I'm like, just give me a bunch of ownership around this scenario. Instead, what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to use diversity, because I think that instead of just stacking ownership, I'm going to kind of say, all right, I know that my dupes are where they are. I'm not worried about having too high of ownership here in a couple lineups. Instead, I'm just going to make sure that I have a diverse set of the lineups that contain these guys. So we're going to go here, hit the portfolio, give me 18. Cool. Add all those to custom export. The next one, let's go ahead and do AJ Brown the same way. Right? We're good with that. So let's go ahead and reset the portfolio. Macro. Portfolio there. And this is kind of the way that I always go about things, right? Start with macro. Then do I need any micro? Do I need any trimming? Do I need stratify? And then at the end, the conditional manager and the exposure management and stuff like that after I've created overall the portfolio. So let's go ahead now and say, in the captain, let's do AJ Brown lineups. Cool. So let's go ahead and do that. And then in the flex, I want to make sure that I lock in Jalen Hurts. Good stuff. So now I have 63. And then for this one, again, there's no guarantee that I'm not going to have the combination of Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. In fact, with Jalen Hurts being locked into the flex, yeah, I mean, I already see one right here, right? So let's go ahead and again, for this stratify, we're going to go ahead and just do diversity. We're going to add those to custom export. Now, really quick thing, I am getting less than just the 20%. And I don't mind that for the purposes of what I am doing right now. But in an actual practical case, like what I'm building out tomorrow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to aim for over And then I am going to remove certain lineups on the end of those lineups, usually the ones that are the least diverse or the highest owned, off before I add to custom export. So just a little caveat there. But there we go. Okay, so that has been added. Now I should be at, yep, 69 lineups. Nice. Good, good, good. Go back to the portfolio. All right, so let's go ahead now and reset the portfolio. And let's do, what was it, Dak Prescott next? Yeah, so Dak Prescott, let's go ahead and get 10% of him really quick. Or 20%, because I've just been doing 20% overall. So 25, happy. Drop that down. Go ahead and do micro. Captain. I'm going to want Dak Prescott. So for the instance of Dak Prescott captain, I'm also going to go one more farther, right? In the flex, not only do I want CeeDee Lamb, I also want George Pickens. Because Dak Prescott is not a rushing QB, right? Like, I don't expect him to have rushing touchdowns. So I want to lock him. If he's going to be in the captain, I want it to be him plus two of his pass catchers. It could be CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. It could be George Pickens and Luke Schumacher. It could be, or Jake Ferguson. It could be, any of his other wide receivers. But I want two of his wide receivers to be in the flex. Because in order for him to outscore Jalen Hurts, he's going to have to throw for 3 touchdowns. And it's very unlikely that all 3 touchdowns go to one guy. So I'm going to lock CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens in the flex here with my Dak Prescott lineups. And now look at that. I already have, there's my 19. So I'm just going to go ahead and add those. Cool. Okay. Reset. Now go to my export base. And now we can see I have 88 lineups here. And I have Hurts lineups, Saquon Barkley lineups, CeeDee Lamb lineups, AJ Brown lineups, and Dak Prescott lineups. And they are all created in ways that make sure they lower the dupes. They are created in ways that give us diversity. They're created in ways that make sure that we have plenty of ownership where we need ownership, all that kind of stuff, right? So this is kind of a high-level way to use the portfolio manager for Showdown. I am thinking about scenario stacking. I want certain lineups with certain captains, with certain players. I'm thinking about game scenario stacking. How much of one side do I want with the other? We can do a combination of those things, right? In our 65 Philadelphia lineups, we want to subset those into 20 Jalen Hurts captain lineups, 20 Saquon Barkley captain lineups, and then 10 AJ Brown and 10 Devontae Smith, right? Like, we can subset those out as well. We can do a whole bunch of different subsetting. For NFL and for Showdown specifically, I think that is worthwhile. For something like NBA, it's not going to be that worthwhile, right? I mean, you can do certain scenario stacking and certain correlation maxing. I know that Jeremy likes to do correlation maxing when he plays NBA. But overall, like, the process is going to be much faster. It does not need to be as in-depth as what I have been doing here. Overall, once you are done with those things, then we can come over here. Let's go ahead and look at our analyzed players. So what do we got here? We have 45% Dak Prescott, 40% Dallas Goedert. That's a lot of Dallas Goedert, actually. 37% George Pickens, 34% CeeDee Lamb, Saquon Barkley. We know that we have decent amounts of captains here, right? Like, we have good spread on our captains. If we wanted to, we could say, okay, that's too much Dallas Goedert, right? Like, I just don't want that much Dallas Goedert. So I'm going to say Dallas Goedert. I only want 20% of him. I don't think he's good. Then we can remove those. And let's just cut that down. Oops, I did it on the portfolio instead of the export. Rip me. That's okay. I don't think that caused some problems here. No, it didn't. Okay. Let's do it on the export here. Cool. So now let's analyze again. Ooh, it did not find anyone to drop him down to. Maybe that's why I'm getting 40%. Who could I drop him down to? Oh, yeah, well, that's fucking why. Because it's 9,600 and then it's just an absolute tank. Okay, so how much Javonte Williams do I have? It doesn't look like much. 18%? Yeah, we just stand. Okay, so let's drop down Dallas go to 25%, and let's do it with someone Javonte Williams. Oops, I did that on portfolio again. All right, let's do that. So now let's analyze, and that should drop them down a bit. Yeah, there we go. I was down to 23%. We got a little bit more Javonte Williams. They project about the same, right? So I don't mind having some of these two. Overall, top 5 finish rates are about 33% for each. So let's see, that makes it so that we have 23% Dallas Goedert. And where's my Williams? Why can't I remember what his name is? Oh, there he is, 35%. So yeah, that's fine. Okay. So then after I'm happy, we're just going to go ahead and download a portfolio. And there you go. So now we have all these. You could take all of these lineups, right, and just copy and paste them into a DraftKings export. I can show you how to do that really quick. And just paste them in here. And then save the file and upload it. So yeah, that is a little walkthrough of Portfolio Manager for Showdown. There's obviously a lot more than you can do, right? Like there's going to be people who are using this thing in ways that I absolutely am not good enough to use it in. But that is a nice little run through of all the different functions, how you can use them, how I like to approach things with scenario and subsetting. I think that it's best to just put together different subsets of your portfolio based on different scenarios and then just let it rip. You can get really fine-grained with this if you'd like. You can add a shit ton of lineups to it, right? I only added 2,800 lineups to it, but if you want to add, I don't know, 10, 15,000 lineups to it, you absolutely can. There's 10,000 lineups available over on PayDirt if you wanted to download them and upload them here. But yeah, if you have any questions on this, please let me know. I'm going to be playing around and testing a whole bunch. I guess I should go check the Discord really quick to see if somebody asked me questions. No questions. But somebody did ask me if I could run MLB again, which I can. So I will do that. If you have any questions, feel free to. Oops, what am I doing? How high am I? If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Hit me up in the Discord, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up by Messenger Pigeon. I'm going to be building out lineups and playing around with things over the next couple days and leading up into tomorrow. If you have not gotten a subscription, you should go get a subscription. You can go to, that is not the right thing. You can go to the subscriptions over on the site, right? $40 a month for all access, $225 for a yearly subscription. If you use code NFL 2025, is that the right code? I'm pretty sure that's the right code. You'll get 25% off your first month for any monthly subscription option. But yeah, go grab a sub. Like I said, you're not going to find a better deal anywhere in the industry. I'm happy to put my projections and ownership up out to anybody, and I'm sure that I'll do just as well as they do for a fraction of the cost. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you enjoy the Portfolio Manager, and hopefully PayDirt absolutely crushes the NFL season. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for the support, and I will talk to everyone later.